Hi, this is Chris McClune with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this episode of our podcast. This episode is going to be basically Ricky Riley and I talking. Ricky's been on a number of our podcasts so far. We were talking about fleet to talk to us about a bunch of fleet management issues. Talking about designing trucks to do work, some of the equipment and some of the design aspects of that that get into it. This month, we're just gonna talk about fire trucks. We have a number of little themes we're going to get into, but my hope today, Ricky, is that we take all kinds of detours, and have to kind of get reeled back in a little bit. But again, this is Ricky Riley. He's one of our editorial advisory board members. Been very active as a writer, as a podcaster, as a webcaster for us. So of course we appreciate all that. Today, he is with us from Traditions Training, where he is the president. And speaking of that, you'll be up in my neck of the woods in the not too distant future to deliver a tower ladder class for us. Is it tower ladders, or were you calling it platforms? I forget which it is.
For Washington, or yeah. So I'm coming up there to do a drill night for the men and women of that department in January, like a drill night, and then we're going to schedule a full 8-hour one with them also. But I meant the more exciting news about tower ladders is that Mike Ciampo, Lieutenant Ciampo, made an announcement for FDIC that they're doing a hybrid class. And when I was at the FDIC advisory board meeting, I kind of asked Champ if he needed any help. And he said, "Yeah, I need some help. Would you like to do it?" And so I'm ecstatic. That guy is, you can learn just so much from just being around him. It's even somebody of my gray hair can't wait to get next to him and listen to him speak and pass on his knowledge. And I'm just there as a helper. I just may point at thing, go, "That's a tower ladder." Mike will tell you about it. I don't know what he's going to have me do, but so I'm very excited about that. I love talking tower ladders, and we go back to Fort Washington. That is a new piece of apparatus they got. I've never really messed with a mid-mount E1 before. It's a big one for sure, and so they're going to have to get really used to that as compared to what they had now was a mid-mount American LaFrance, which is a little bit more compact. But obviously, this has all the bells, whistles, all the safety features. And everything this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a 6-jack system, as opposed to their ones like we've seen recently. They've come out of E1 with the 4-jack system. So it's going to be interesting. So I got to get up there someday here soon to start playing with it, because when we did the checkout, they did most of the. I let them play with it. It wasn't important that I play with it. It was important that the members of the department play with it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a new toy, something new to learn the ins and outs. And, I think I got aerial scopes down pat. I got the midship mount ascended down pat, but, this will be something new. So I'm very anxious and can't wait to get up there.
Cool deal. If you can, talk a little bit about that class you're going to be doing with Mike Ciampo, because as you mentioned, it's a hybrid hot class. What does that mean to the prospective attendee? Because registration is open right now for FDIC. You can go there to FDIC.com to take care of that, and all the class descriptions are there. But describe what the hybrid part of this means.
So again, whoever thought about it, and I when we heard about it at the FDIC advisory board meeting in New Jersey this year, nobody said like, "Hey, this was the idea we came up with." They just kind of announced that Mike was doing it. But apparently, there's more than just Mike's class. Whereas you usually have 2 tracks at FDIC. You have, Monday and Tuesday, which is the pre-workshops, where you go sit in a classroom for 4 hours, you go sit in a classroom for 8 hours, or you go get on the buses and you go to the hands-on training session. So, Fire Engineering and FDIC came up with this thing is that, hey, let's kind of mix this together. So we go sit in a classroom for a couple hours. I'm sure Champ's going to tell hundreds of FDNY stories, but they all have learning moments. That's the point. I mean, that's the way I love to learn, is that, I want to hear a story, especially from somebody as credible, knowledgeable, and, the integrity that he has as an officer. he's going to give you these learning points by using an example of how he learned it or how it was taught to him. So, 2 to 3 hours of that. And then we're going to go outside and, before the big move-in day, to get the rigs inside the convention center, Lucas Oil or the convention center, we're going to have a couple tower ladders to go out there and, touch them, operate them, show different setups, show how to put one of the big things that Champ does is, how to put a ground ladder inside the basket, how to rescue people, So it's the best of both worlds. You get tired of sitting in the classroom. That hey, we're going to go outside and we're going to go wake you up and and play with these things. So I'm very excited. I haven't seen the class curriculum yet, but I'm sure if anything to do with Lieutenant Champo, it's going to be an excellent class. So.
And you're also going to be returning again to do your designing apparatus for work, right? As a classroom?
Yeah. Usually I do that stuff on Wednesday. But apparently I missed an email from Diane, and Diane put me in a class on Friday, and I'm like, look, I'm not even going to be there. So I got a demerit. Probably got 2 or 3 demerits from Diane, and Chris, you know what those are all about. So you do not want to get a Diane demerit, and
no, not at all.
So I got one and had to beg for forgiveness. So it's Thursday, and I forget what time that is. So never want to do it on Thursday because that's when the show opens. But hey, I'm just happy to be there and teaching again, and once again talking about fire trucks is which I love doing. So,
cool. Well, let's start getting into some of that, some of the truck talk. And it seems like every time, no matter when I see you, your department is getting ready to go through a replacement cycle for some of its rigs. So, for 2024. What is your department replacing this year? And are you tweaking the specs at all? Is it just going to be kind of a seamless kind of a thing, or are you looking to implement some new things that you've seen over time? And talk about what some of those things are. So, what for 2024? What's your department looking to replace?
So the department once again is funded each year for a replacement, and obviously the fire chief and the organization do an excellent job of trying to get the fire department as much money because everybody's trying to grab money, the police departments, Parks and Rec, and everybody like that. So it's always a money grab that time of the year. And our boss does a great job of trying to get us money. So, this year is kind of different. We're buying some engines, not as many as we normally do. That spec is so dialed in right now that we don't want to touch it, but once again, with PACCAR motors, which we're buying now, because we know Cummins is going to make a motor. We know that, and we know Cummins is a reliable company. But the pricing, warranties, and all that sort of stuff, we just weren't sure what and how much it's going to cost. I don't think they've come up with the final cost yet. Is that we went with the PACCAR, so. The PACCAR motor now requires us to have 13-inch frame rails rather than our 10 inches, which we love. Absolutely love our 10-inch frame rails. Just, our manufacturer tells us it's not going to raise the step heights or anything like that, but it's kind of hard to believe that you put a 13-inch frame rail instead of a 10-inch that you are going to have. But look, I'm not an engineer, so by a far stretch. So they say it's not going to operate. So that'll be something interesting. Obviously, when we go to do the engineering conference, I know we're jumping ahead, but that is going to put us in the new NFPA 1900 standard. So all the little, new things that are in there. I reviewed Bill's article again this morning, in preparation for the podcast today. Just kind of looking at some of the stuff and, the lighting and, I guess the biggest thing is that you would think a document that is as thick as 1900 is, and I think we were on a show a couple of weeks ago, and we showed how thick that thing is. The biggest thing in there is that, hey, guess what? You can do contrasting chevrons. It's like they could have just changed that, and I think half the fire service would have been thrilled for that to happen. But so lighting, a lot of stuff about idlings on there. Obviously, we're not buying an electric fire truck, but people are. So a lot of the electric fire truck stuff's in there 1900. So our spec's pretty tight. We'll just see how 1900 has any effect on that. I guess one of the more interesting things that I reread this morning, was the battery charger on the units now has to be able to charge everything that you're going to put on the unit. So, I don't know, when we get to the engineering conference that we go, hey, we're going to put 6 hand lights, 3 portable radio chargers, a thermal imaging camera. We're going to use a charger for an EPCR tablet. And we're going to charge a life pack. And we have to, it appears, once again, nobody's been through this process, that you're going to have to tell the manufacturer that. Then the manufacturer is going to go, well, this is the size battery charger that you have to put on the rig, because you have to be able to charge all that and still keep a charge in the battery. So, we get all our rigs in now, and, we put all this stuff in aftermarket and don't tell the manufacturer that. And, we don't have that many problems, but, obviously I think any fleet manager will tell you that we all go through batteries, rather rapidly, just because of the discharge and the recharge. The discharge and the recharge, it just cycles that battery through. And no matter how expensive a battery you buy it or how many good it says it is, it's going to wear out, I think, from just that up and down, the fluctuating of the discharge and intake and in charge of. That's one of those things, that we have. But we're getting another tiller. Once again, that's going to be, we're going to have to look at 1900 for that. I don't know. I would not think, once again, not the engineer, and is that, we've changed jack pressures now from, it used to be that it was 75 PSI, to get your green light, regardless of manufacturer. Now it's 100 PSI. And I really don't think there's going to be a lot of, piston change or hydraulic tank oil change or anything like that. But once again, something else that needs to come out, and, you need to understand, you're going to learn at that first thing. So I think ours is in April. But that engineering conference is from last year's, last year's or the year before's order. I mean, that's just how protracted the manufacturer's out. Mm-hmm. God, I'd love to know when that's going to stop, if ever. No, I mean, we're looking at a fireboat, and something that I've never purchased before. Can't wait to get into that, just to learn something new. But the big purchase, I think, this year is going to be ambulances. It's going to be, we have to purchase a lot of ambulances. We have a topic about those in a minute, but for the organization. But so that's going to be, once again, is what is in the new NFPA standard for ambulances and Triple K and all that, to go back and go through all that and figure out if anything's been added that's going to affect us at the engineering conference. So once again, it's a big order, and then all the Tahoes and pickup trucks and whatever else we're going to buy this year is going to be. I mean, we're a big department. We're good. 45 stations. 2,000 some odd people. It's a good department, and we appreciate the fire chief getting us that money, and so I get to go build fire trucks, which is what I love doing. So,
is that tiller? Is that replacing another tiller, or is it going to be a new addition to that ladder company?
This is for a new fire station that we're building. Okay. So we're building a new fire station down at National Harbor to serve that area, that growing area. It's as you come across from Virginia into Maryland, there's a huge, the MGM resorts area, MGM casino, bunch of hotels, shopping, venues. It's just a beautiful place. So that area is growing in population, and that area is growing in call service. So we have to put a fire station down there. The county executive and her team made that come to fruition, and is getting the money to fund it. The joke I always make now is that what's going to come first, the fire trucks or the fire stations? So certainly we used to win that battle all the time because of the way construction of a fire station goes. But it's going to be a tight battle this time to see which actually comes first. So,
do you get involved with the station design at all? Do you need to? I mean, I guess at some point they're going to need at least your department within the fire department to at least give them some specs on the rigs, heights, depth, and stuff like that, so everything fits. Yeah. But do you get into much else with the station design?
No, it's just dimensions. Dimensions and weight is the big one. So they know what, obviously how much concrete they have to pour, how much reinforcement they have to put in it. And then obviously as they lay out the fire station is, where they're going to put all the apparatus and what they want for future expansion. So, hey, obviously we're not going to fit anything behind a tiller truck. It's going to be, it is what it is. But, as how long is the engine? Can we put something behind it? Do we need to keep a drive-through bay, which is always a good thing to do with a fire station? But, I've built some fire stations in my previous life.
Okay.
And those are big deals, man. It's, to go from, first of all, you have to have red bifold doors on the front of the firehouse. That is a standard. It should be a standard for every fire station. Just absolutely gorgeous looking doors. They operate well. But everything in a fire station is it takes forever, and contractor after contractor and after architect after architect. I don't know if I could do that every day, dealing with, for us with fire truck business, we deal with one manufacturer. All the other little stuff that we put on there is not a big deal, but, building a firehouse, that's crazy.
So going back to the pumpers you're ordering, and I guess this will flow over to the ladder as well. But the PACCAR engines, what kind of challenges, if any, is that going to pose for your repair technicians in the shop? Is it kind of, for repair technician, is it almost an engine's an engine's an engine? Are they going to have to go through any supplemental training to get up to speed on that model?
Yes, we in the contract we've asked for training. So as a part of the contract for the apparatus, we said, hey, look, we need a training component in there to train our mechanics. But once again, I think we talked about this before. I'm simply amazed at the mechanics that I have working for me, or whoever fire department has, their ability to understand motors. And I have a mechanic here that he takes a fire truck apart, and he has no organizational skills whatsoever. And because anybody, I have folders, and I have a filing cabinet, and this guy just will take something apart, and there'll be parts, pieces, bolts, washers, nuts laying everywhere, and somehow or another he puts that all back together and nothing's left, or at least he tells me there's nothing left. But that is an art form, man. That is just an incredible art form. The intelligence that it has, the skill level that it has for a mechanic, and they, it shocks me when I hear them. We come up with a problem during the day, whether it be, hey, the motor's not doing this, the fire truck's not doing that, and they come in the next day and they're getting it fixed, and I'm like, what happened? What changed? Oh, we went home and we went on the internet and we learned how to fix this, or we learned how to fix that. There's a YouTube video for this, or there's a recall for this, or a bulletin about that. Going on. You just don't think that. You think that just with and the firefighters that we just go, oh, we're going to go do all this extra training. We're going to learn from these books. That this subsection of the fire department, which is these mechanics, they do the same thing the firefighters do. What can they learn off duty? What can they learn when they go home and search the internet? And so that goes with our PACCAR motors, is that that's something else we're going to need to learn. We're going to need to learn what brakes on it. Look, no matter what motor you get, the motor's going to break. There's going to be a problem with the DEF system. There's going to be a problem with the regen system. There's going to be, there's always going to be these problems. Is that now is learning that motor's uniqueness and what happens with it, and how we're going to stock parts. They're going to have to learn the processes. And, with any good mechanic, once they do it once or twice, it becomes second hat. So, a job that takes, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours for them to do the first time, they'll have that down to, 2 hours or an hour, the next time it comes around, just because they know how to fix it. So, yeah, they're already starting to read up on PACCARs and understanding it. And, a lot of that stuff is, we have, a local dealer here that we're dealing with. So it's going to be interesting. We understand it's got a lot of good torque, and it's an over-road engine, but it's the first one we're going to have in a fire truck. So
getting back to a little bit about the NFPA 1900 and how this is going to impact your new rigs. One of the things that you and I have discussed on these podcasts, and we got Mark from New York and Ed from DC to come in on this too, are the purchasing, the current environment for purchasing rigs. And a huge part of that conversation when we had it was the cost of the rigs. Now, NFPA 1900 is not necessary, and this may be normal for you guys anyway, but it's not requiring as much equipment as it did before. Most, if not all of it, has been moved to the annex and is now recommended equipment. One of the things that we've had to do for many years when we take delivery of a new truck is replace the ladders, the ground ladders on them. So how much do you get into, I'm guessing your division would be going through pump recertification every year, making sure that's all up to speed. Do you get into the ground ladder certification? And if so, is that going to, because we're talking about pretty soon when, I'm not sure how many pumpers you're going to be replacing, but when you get into adding 2 to 3 ladders for every 2 to 3 ground ladders, that does become a big chunk of the cost of that truck, of that order. So will you be? I'm guessing that all your ladders are kept up to speed there. Are you going to be buying all new ladders with these new rigs, or are you going to go with the way the standard's written now? And if they are passing whatever testing is required for the department, are you going to stick with the ones that are already there? Sorry, that was a really long question.
Fine. I understand. So,
do I need to break that up?
Yeah, the same problem that all of us are experiencing with the manufacturers, with the delayed or the protracted delivery times, the ground ladder manufacturers are having the exact same problem, and it's staggering. So we just went through ground ladder testing. So we test close to 600 ground ladders for the entire department. And of course, they're going to fail. Rungs, beams, halyards, that stuff's going to fail. So we can fix some of it because we send a technician out with the tester, with extra rungs, with the expansion gun and with halyard ropes and everything, and locks and everything. So, we use we have a standard now, which has only been for like the last 3 or 4 years of the company that we like to use as our ground ladder manufacturer. But, if a ladder has taken a fall and the beam's bent, beams bent, usually, hey, it's done. It's going to go out and be done with. And now you order that ladder and they're telling you a year. It's, so, we take the same money that we buy the fire truck with, we add a little extra money in there and we buy extra ground ladders. So not only are we going to buy new ground ladders that go on the fire truck, we're going to buy an extra set. Just like we'd buy an extra bumper or extra DEF filter or, a canister or something like that. If we have, the money in the fire truck, we're buying parts and pieces to help support the life of the fire truck. We don't want any out of service times. Once again, regardless of manufacturer, fire trucks are going to break. So, but, managing the out of service time is important. So, just like we talked with, for FDMY or DCFD or, any fleet manager, they're trying, our job is not only to manage the fire truck, is to manage the parts and pieces that go on it, like you alluded to. And with ground ladders, we would never not think to not buy a fire truck with brand new ground ladders. So that's the more we can put, if we put this truck this brand new truck's going to replace another truck, and that's going to go in the reserve fleet. And then the one that's in the reserve fleet is going to go be, sent out for auction or, taken out of the fleet. We'll take those ground ladders off, make sure that they're fully tested, and then put them in stock. So now if we have this failure of a ground ladder, whether it be during a fire or during the day or during the week, that they can come to the shop and get a new ground ladder, get the rig back in service. But now I go out and, we go out in the shop now and we look like we're from the ladder manufacturer. It's just, we keep buying ground ladders, we keep stocking them because when one fails, we are very lucky this year with our failure rate. We've had years where, we're in the 15s, 20s, 30 ground ladders fail out of 600, and then to try to buy or purchase those ground ladders is difficult, extremely difficult, especially today. So.
God, how long does that take to go through all 600? Are you talking about like just an entire month that ladder testing company is set up, right? Do they go out to the individual stations? Do all the ground ladders come to a central location?
Yeah, for us, it's we go to, we have 7 battalions. And we go to each battalion, we go to one firehouse, and then all the companies come there. And it takes us, 3 weeks to do that. And then, then we have to have makeup days because we had a fire or there was a call. And then we have to do all the reserve apparatus and then all the spare ladders. And so it's a long, and then the training academy, they have a ton of ground ladders for when they do recruit schools. So it's a long process. And thank goodness we have a fire technician who's, one of our drivers, whatever that's assigned here, that he goes out, all that has to be documented. We have to keep all that paperwork and everything. So that, one person that does all that. So once again, thankful for the fire chief's forethought into, making sure that we have all this NFP required testing done and we have somebody to do it. So.
As you're out and about, you're doing training for Traditions training. Mm-hmm. You'll be at FDIC. That's only once a year, but I know you make your way around some of the other shows as well. What are some of the things? What are some of the I guess neat kind of features you're seeing on trucks, but also some of the more functional features that you're seeing on trucks these days, whether it's equipment or whether it's the truck itself?
I mean, the one that I was beating the band about, forever. I mean, obviously, New York's had low hose beds for its entire life. Going back to the horses, and everybody else just kind of caught on, and I've been beating that drum for a long time. And now you see, even like rural companies and having low hose beds, still able to carry their amount of water that they need to serve their community. But once again, I think the ergonomics of it shows itself. But one of the big things, about the low hose beds that, I think is like, I don't say a dirty secret, is that, you can have a really nice low hose bed, but if it doesn't have any depth, in the fire truck, then you're still going to get a high hose bed, because, the hose has to stack up somewhere. So, even on our pumpers, we did a version of it like 2 years ago where, we said, hey, we want to push the water tank. We got an L tank, so there's a high, most of the water is in the inverted L. And, hey, we want to push that up higher, to get the other part of the L down a little bit lower. And then obviously try to get us more depth in the hose bed to help get the hose bed height down. Obviously, if you don't do any of that stuff, your hose bed is going to be really high. Then you're going to have really high hose. So, just once again, a give and take on that. But, having a low hose bed also, if you want to use the ergonomic argument, is that you need some depth also. So when you're trying to lay out or you're trying to grab that shoulder load, that's in a manageable place also. Because, one of the things that we hate, and I have a video in that program that you're talking about, we do at FDIC, this poor firefighter, short firefighter trying to get the layout rope off, and they're in full PPE and an SCBA, and they can't reach it. Then they gotta knee, put their knee on the tailboard to stand up, and that's just asking for an injury. And as much as us fleet managers think the fire trucks are the be all to end all for the fire department, the people are the thing that actually make them work and answer the calls for service, and we need to take care of them as much as we take care of the rig. So important things. A lot of stuff out there. I see the trend just moving towards. You can see that the younger generation of the fire service, and that would be people younger than me and you, are having an impact on the design of the apparatus. I think the people that are riding are having a bigger voice. I don't know if it's just the older generation is not involved as much, but hey, this is the way we've always done it, or so now you see that younger generation that's more vocal, is not accepting cause or because I said so as an answer, and they're making the fire truck better. I mean, I always point to Delaware. My friends in Delaware, in Newcastle County, my God, they would buy these, 12-man cabs and, 1,000 gallons of water, and the hose bed would be a mile up in the air. Just not good fire truck. And then they've realized who they actually are, is that, hey, we have reduced staffing because of the volunteer, crisis. Let's make the cabs a little smaller. Let's put the hose bed down a little lower. Let's lose a little water. And you can go to that. That is I'm going to say an incorrect number. So 10 or 15 departments in this county with no county oversight, with no county fire chief, 16 or 15 or 16 individual corporations. And they show up on a fire ground, and almost all their fire trucks, other than the colors and the patches, kind of have the same design features, which makes it, low hose bed, short rigs, with anywhere between 5 to 750 gallons of water. Seeing that trend is really a good thing to see, is that people are taking a real hard look at the rigs and design them now. We had a discussion not long ago that my thought process is, and God, I hope it never comes true, is that I think to help with this backlog of how long it takes you to get a fire truck, I believe even custom fire truck manufacturers are going to start telling customers, no, you can't do that. Or they're going to make it so hard on you. And I don't mean hard in a bad way. Just it's going to be 60 months if you want all this custom compartmentation, or you want this custom compartment, or you want that. With these sets of options, I'll get you a fire truck in 36 months or something, something like that. It's just, I see, I could be wrong.
Do you think that would be a stopgap? Yeah. So in other words, do you think that would be something they would say until the backlog is better under control, and then they'll go back to doing more of that? Well, okay. If they were to do that, if they were to do that, do you think that would end up being the norm, or do you think it would just be a stopgap, get the backlog under control, and then go back to doing more of those more intricate custom type of designs?
Well, I think, once again, it'd be interesting, with all the people that you talk to, the Eddies and Marks and all those people that we deal with, fleet managers. I think the manufacturers, their problem is the skilled workforce.
I was going to ask you about that, especially regarding your department in particular. I was just out at a manufacturer the other day, and then I was also talking to a manufacturer on the phone just a couple of days ago, and he told me, he said, the supply chain stuff has improved a bit. It's the labor that he's having the biggest problem with right now.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. When we're going to computerized or robot. Correct me. The robots that are going to start painting fire trucks, because of it. It's not because the manufacturer is looking to cut cost or cut a person out of a job. It's because there's a lack of skilled labor that knows how to paint, or cut or weld or cut. Obviously, I think most manufacturers, when they're cutting metal, they're using the CNC machines and and stuff like that. But a welder, that's an important job, especially when we're building fire trucks. And watching some of, even our own rigs go down the line, usually, Eddie, DCFD, FDNY, LA, San Francisco, we make these big orders, and all our fire trucks are in sequence, hey, it's whatever the job number is. But when they come down the line, if you go and look at like 4 or 5 of them together, you look at whatever part you're looking at, and it can be different. Once again, that is the human factor that's involved in building fire trucks. Mm-hmm. So, the print says this, and the our engineering conference said this, but it's not that they're doing it incorrectly, not to our specification or how we said at the engineering conference, but it's the human factor that comes in. Is that how come this wire loom is not exactly where this other one is? Because it's a human factor that comes in there, and that skilled labor force is, it's critical. And I don't know how these manufacturers are going to deal with it in the future, because unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better of where we're finding a large group. Now, I say, well, where a lot of these manufacturers are at, I would say that they have a better chance of finding skilled labor. But there are some manufacturers that are not in that pool of where you're going to find good skilled laborers. And I don't, once again, I don't know. We have certainly looked at how can we cut down the delivery time by cutting options or cutting special pricing or, SPs, I think we all know what that is that, hey, this is a special, this fire department compartment, and it's got, this kind of shape, this width, this depth, and it doesn't meet the norm. So, it'll be interesting to see what's going to come. I hope it doesn't. I love custom fire trucks to death, but, at the same time, I think fire departments are going to have to start sacrificing their customization to get fire trucks on the street, just because of delivery times. And that's not pointed at any one manufacturer. They're all hurting. It's not, you can't go, oh, this manufacturer A is, there's this X amount of months and this guy's, because that's how we used to, go back and forth with the manufacturers. Is one would be cost, another would be delivery times. And, you have your favorite manufacturer and you go, oh, I'm going to buy 6 pumpers. And, then they tell you it's going to be X amount of months. And go, oh, we're going to go to the manufacturer B. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to do either 1 month better or 1 month worse, or 2 months. And, you're not getting anything. They're all in the same boat. So
how about your maintenance division at your department? Are you having any problems finding technicians to repair these trucks?
Oh yeah. I mean, skilled, it's I think all of us in our area, the fleet managers, we're all competing for those bodies. And we compete with those bodies, not only with the governments, the departments. Now we're also competing with the dealers, for their repair facilities. So, all the manufacturers, we have a lot of manufacturers that are around here that, through dealerships, and, they have to have a workforce. So, now it is, as a mechanic, you can almost go, hey, I can go find the highest guy that's going to pay me the most amount of money, or give me the best working conditions, or, whatever perk that they're going to get out of it, because, that skilled labor force is crucial. I mean, I've been trying to, articulate that to people, is that, hey, this force here is just as important as our, firefighters and our paramedics that are out there in the field. They have to have a skill set that is important. I mean, like, a paramedic has a phenomenal skill set, responsible for lives. Well, the guy that's fixing the brakes on the ambulance that's taking them there is just as important to have as a skilled laborer. Because if he can't fix the brakes right, we're going to have a real big problem. But, so that, pay parity and all that sort of stuff, I don't know how that's going to turn out. But I think, to answer your question is that, we need we're in a constant battle with trying to find the right people. And, we've had a position open for a year now, trying to get the right person in here to get it done. So
I wanted to go back to something you brought up a few minutes ago, and it was interesting to me about it because it sort of contrasted with some of the more recent comments I've heard. And I'm thrilled that this is what you are seeing out there, and that was the younger firefighters getting involved with the specifications of the trucks. Really getting into the design aspect of it. And the reason I think that's great is because for the obvious reasons, but and I forget, I heard it from at least 2 different people, and I can't remember where I was. I guess they were, we'll call them, much more seasoned than me. I guess that's how we'll describe them. So they were older, but they were saying to me that they were referring to them as the kids. They didn't care about some of the other more important aspects of the rig. They were just concerned about the lights. Do the lights look cool? That kind of thing. But it sounds like you're actually seeing the opposite. So I think that's really great. Are you seeing that kind of you get out to a lot of different places? Are you seeing that across the board? Because I think that's fantastic, and I think it's critically important that our younger guys understand that there are so many components to an apparatus that they may be treating as a commodity that actually are not commodities. When we think about the aerial device, the pumps, all that kind of stuff, they do seem to be getting more granular, which I think is great.
I don't think that I don't think you're going to find I always want to foster the younger, the next group that's coming up. Just but I don't think you're going to find that person that wants to get into the nuts and bolts of it. So, for us, we have an established team that is highly motivated and dedicated to the process. So when we talk about this younger generation is that they know what they like and they know what they like when they're out serving the public on this fire truck. So, getting their input is important. And not only do we need to get their input is that they need to see the end result. So, we could take 20 to 30 comments or 20 to 30 suggestions from the field. And, we may get half of that on the rig. I would say that the success of our engine companies is based on the input that we got from the field. Look, and there's a couple things that, we can't do. I mean, hey, we want a Halligan bar inside the cab. Well, we're not going to do that. It's just not going to work with NFPA. And, when we have a bad thing go on, you're going to get stabbed with it. It's just not going to do good. But, hey, we want to put this kind of hose on it. We want to put the bin to be a little bit bigger. We want a divider here. Hey, we want a seat here. Anything that we can do to help foster that, as long as it kind of fits into our standard, we'll do that. And if it's something that's really good, obviously, I've been doing this for a long time. The great team that I have that works with me on doing these fire trucks is, we all can get in a rut. We all can get it. This is just the way we're going to do it. And it takes that one firefighter or one paramedic to go, hey, this is what we need in the field. And then we're going to try to implement it on this rig. Now we got to figure out what the cost is going to be to implement it on all the rigs, to go back and make sure that, everybody's benefiting from this new option or new design. And then how we're going to finance that, how we're going to purchase the parts and pieces, how long it's going to take us to put it on all the rigs, because it's always, we go back, let's go, use like hose, for instance. I mean, obviously we have a lot of hose manufacturers that advertise in fire apparatus and emergency equipment, and they got every advertisement is the newest, it bends this way. It's electrician locks here. It's this, now it's 1.88.996, whatever, they come up with these great things and these firefighters see it and go, well, let's put that on the rig. That's great if you're a one engine fire department. If you're a multi-engine fire department or hundreds of engines, and we're trying to standardize how firefighters operate on the fire ground or operate on their apparatus, is that, yeah, that's great. We're going to buy one bed of hose and it's going to have a different friction loss and a different nozzle than the other 99. So now we have to figure out how, if that's what we decide we're going to do as a standard, that we got to figure out how to purchase and put it all in the other 99. Then we got the training component, that's got to go with it all. So, maybe it's just my area. I don't know. But I see a lot of people engaged in it. And obviously as they come through here, they always have a comment about the fire truck, so which is a good thing. That means they're engaged. I mean, we have I say this a lot. We have a lot of pain in the behind technicians, drivers that just wear us out about their fire truck. And, and you can get irritated by it or go, the guy or the girl cares. They care about the rig. They want it right. They write up all this stuff. And, a lot of people can see it as they're nitpicking. No, I mean, they just want their fire truck right. I mean, who doesn't want to walk in, turn the battery switch on, turn the ignition switch on, and everything works the way it's supposed to, and there's no deficiencies in your apparatus check? And if you have a technician, he or she that cares about the rig and sends that list in, that is such a refreshing way to look at things, because, there are people out there that do not care. But these people care. So once again, and then now is the job of those people, the technicians, to pass that on to the next group of firefighters. Is that, guess what? We get in at 7 or hey, maybe we're doing a duty night, or maybe that's a Saturday apparatus check day at the volunteer firehouse. Is that, we pass all this information on, hey, it's going to take us an hour 45 minutes to do this and get through it. And I learned that from great drivers that I had in Fairfax County. That, oh my God, they would take 2 and 2.5 hours to check a rig out for a weekly or something like that. And, And as a young, smart aleck firefighter, I would go take a nut, paint it the color of the fire truck, and then throw it underneath the fire truck so they'd have to look for it for the next 20 minutes. And then when I started doing apparatus checks, I realized how unfunny that is. So, but I'm really energized by it. I mean, you see it at FDIC. I don't like all the new adjectives that get put with everything that we do. Aggressive this, aggressive that. Just we just need to do our job. There's no such thing as an aggressive apparatus check. It's an apparatus check. We're supposed to search. It doesn't need to be aggressive. We're supposed. That's what's expected of us, or whatever it is. But I'm very energized by that younger generation and realize that I don't have the energy that they have. But it's good to see. If you go on any kind of social media now, you see that energy that's in the fire service. Some of it's misguided, but some of it's really, really great. So I'm very happy for them. So
it's funny when you start talking about the technicians that are pains in the rear end. I found myself thinking of a guy at my fire company. He putters around the firehouse a lot around the station, and he is always on the property committee chairman about all these little things, and the way he's communicating it, to some of us, it's just like I'll be honest with you, there have been times where I've been like, oh, I can't take it anymore. But the property committee chairman said exactly what you just said. He was just like, well, would you rather have someone who doesn't care about all this stuff? And I think that's the key. Sometimes, the way it's communicated might not be the best, but you want them to care about the stuff.
Oh yeah.
But another question I had about that was when you mentioned, you might have 30 suggestions coming in, and you might put 15 of them, incorporate them into the design of the rig. How hard is it to or is it challenging to translate that suggestion for a design aspect into the spec? And the reason I say that is I've been editing some articles, and one is about coffin compartments. It'll be coming out soon. And the author Bill Adams, he is always very, very adamant about the level of detail. Like there's a level of detail you don't have to get into when it's going to take there are certain things you don't need 1,000 words to describe, but there are other things where if you are not clear and you just say the truck shall have this compartment, that it measures, whatever. What you get if you are not very, very specific about the way the interior of that compartment's supposed to look might not be what you had in mind. So how challenging is it to take those suggestions and then translate them into a spec that's going to give them what they want?
It's not as difficult as you say it is. Mainly because of the internet. And if you have, and I'll also say that as important as the manufacturer is, and as important as the purchaser is. So I mean, we have a spec, we have an idea what we want to do. We've gotten it from the field, and then usually the field will go, "I saw this on this fire truck," and then they'll send us a picture, and then a lot of times we're very fortunate enough that me, a member of my team, or even them, will go to that firehouse and take measurements and everything like that. And so the piece that we forget is also the salesperson. Is that, I could never do that. I just could not be a salesperson. It's just, I always say they're like the cheese in a grilled cheese sandwich, man. You got the manufacturer pushing down on you about cost, and no, we can't do that. We can't engineer it. So he's pushing down. Then you got the purchaser, pushing up, and then, then the cheese just spills out on the side, gets burned, and that's the salesperson. The manufacturer isn't happy, or the buyer isn't happy, but, so our salesperson understands what we want, how we operate, and that takes time. I mean, he has to invest in the organization. I mean, it's, I have, a great friend of mine is a salesman also, and he sold forever, and never was a firefighter at all. Never picked up hose line, never did any of that. But his attention to our detail and attention to our department, was flawless. I mean, hey, we need to do this with these pike poles or these shovels and everything like that. And he goes, oh, I'll figure this out for you. No problem. I know how you want it. You want lights in there. You want it not to leak, all this sort of stuff. And he would take and run with it. But, that salesperson is just as important to this option purchase that you're talking about. And then, obviously making sure that it's done correctly. So on more than one committee, me not being the chairperson, sitting in a not a chairperson role, is to watch people design a fire truck with a tape measure. And then the fire truck gets there and all of a sudden all the stuff doesn't fit like it's supposed to fit, Mike Tyndall, the guy that taught me how to mount equipment, says, Ricky, the two things that you need to learn first is what ID is and what OD is. So, if you don't know what the inside dimension is and the outside dimension is, you are going to ruin a fire truck. And more than one has been ruined. And, the guys here get on me because I'm terrible about measuring stuff. I'm terrible. So they got me a tape measure with all the little increments on it so I can make sure I don't say, hey, it's 1.5 inches and 2 lines. It's right on there perfectly. Mm-hmm. And, making sure that you do that. And, and that's what you have to tell those people that come to you with the idea is that, yeah, it's great that you want to stick this piece of equipment in there, but will it fit? Is the nader bolt in the way? Will it fit over the lip? Mm-hmm. Does it have room to wiggle? And will it make it out the door? So, all those pieces, there's a roll-up door, there's a pan door. So you just, for the people that care, we will go that extra length to go, mm-hmm. Hey, now we're going to teach them something. And then that's going to help out the organization. When I walk away from this job, not that I want to, I love this job. That they're going to be the next person that's going to sit on the committee, is to take the place of one of the people that, transfer out or retires off my committee. Just having those good people on there is important. So.
I'm just thinking, that could happen on a hose bed as well. You can't just put in the spec, the guys come to you and say, we want a low hose bed. You can't just put, we want a low hose bed. It's going to carry X amount of 5-inch, X amount of 2.5, X amount of 1.75 inches, blah, 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 blah. There needs to be more that goes into that, because if you leave it up to the manufacturer, no matter who it is, to figure out how to put all that hose in there, you might not get exactly what you thought you were going to get. And without telling them we are going to use this manufacturer's hose. All the hose lays different. It measures width-wise differently than from each other. So you really do need to get a little bit granular. It's a great idea, but you need to figure out what that working end, as Bill Adams always calls it, of the fire truck is going to look like, and you do need to get a little granular with that, because for this manufacturer's hose it'll be fine. For this, you're going to have to move this divider over a little bit, which is going to impact this, which is going to impact all the way over. So that's kind of where I was thinking about. You really do need to figure that out, because you can't just say I want a low, you can't just, and the guys who care are going to actually go that extra mile and probably go out to the internet and show you the pictures of what they want. And then, might even go to that department and say, who makes that hose? I love that layout. I love the pack. Who makes the hose? I want to do that on my next one.
It's not nearly as important as what hose bed divider you're using. So that is probably that is the biggest thing that people miss, is that, hey, like you said, I'm going to use this manufacturer's hose. I know it's this wide. I need the hose bed rear end, this wide to fit all my tack lines, my supply line, whether it be 5-inch, 4-inch, 3-inch. But the hose bed divider comes into play because how the hose is going to lay and how it's going to, if you have super reinforced or, whatever it is. So you got to pay a lot of attention to that. So it's not just looking at the hose and the hose bed, but what type divider that particular manufacturer is using. So.
Well, Ricky, we're nearing the end of the podcast here. And there were things that I thought I was going to get to that I didn't. So I hope you'll come back on again sometime. I really do enjoy these conversations. We'll have to get some other truck guys in here and then we can just all start lobbing grenades at each other and seeing what comes out of it. Again, Ricky is going to be at FDIC 2024. Go to FDIC.com. You can search for specific classes. He's going to be doing a class with Mike Champo, a hybrid workshop, hot workshop, and he is also going to be delivering a classroom session. So FDIC.com, you can go there. There is the conference program is up. Registration is open, so make sure you get in now while you can. There's a tremendous number of classes to choose from, so make sure you get in there now. Again, all of our podcasts are available at fireapparatusmagazine.com/podcast. So everything we've done, we started them in August. We do one a week, so they are all in there, and this one is in there as well. You can subscribe to these podcasts on a number of different platforms: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So take a look there, subscribe to them, and you'll get notified as soon as we add a new one. Also, if you have topics that we have not hit on yet that you would like to see us hit on, let me know. Between fire apparatus and emergency equipment, FDIC, and fire engineering, we've got the experts that we can tap into to get those topics addressed. So let me know. It's chris.mcloone, MCLOONE, at clarionevents.com. If you have any questions about what we've talked about today, you would like Ricky to maybe clarify something or elaborate on something, let me know about that too. I'll get him in touch with you, and you guys can work it out. So again, Ricky, my thanks to you for joining me today. Again, this has been Chris McClune with Ricky Riley, Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Have a good one and stay safe. Thanks again, Ricky.
No problem, Chris. Thank you.